Mr. Davis, would you like to call any other witnesses today, sir?
Judge, at this time, the defense would rest.
All right, thank you, Mr. Davis. State, would you like to call any other witnesses at this time?
Yes, Judge.
Who would you like to call first?
Mike Hodges.
Mike Hodges. Mr. Hodges, if you'll raise your right hand, sir.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth?
All right, you may be seated. Thank you, Mr. Hodges. Mr. Williams, you can go ahead.
Judge, would you state your name for the record?
Mike Hodges.
I'm going to ask you a yes or no question. On August 1st, 2018, did the defendant, Zachary Wester, tell you that he was in the middle of processing items from a seizure or recovery of property that day?
No.
Nothing else, Judge.
Mr. Davis?
Good afternoon, Mr. Hodges.
Afternoon.
Again, I'm going to ask you also a yes or no question. On that same day that Mr. Williams was asking you about, did you make any note or report about that conversation?
No, I did not.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Hodges. Have a good day, sir. State, who would you like to call next?
Kevin Arnold.
Kevin Arnold. Mr. Arnold, if you'll raise your right hand, sir.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the evidence
You can be seated. Thank you, Mr. Arnold. Mr. Williams, you can go ahead.
Good afternoon. Would you state your name for the record?
Kevin Arnold.
Captain Arnold, I'm going to ask you a yes or no question. On August 1st, 2018, did the defendant tell you that he was in the middle of processing items recovered from a seizure or recovery that day?
No.
Nothing else, Judge.
Mr. Davis.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
And I also have a yes or no question for you. On that day, did you make any note or report about the conversation you had with Mr. Wester?
No.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Arnold. Have a good day, sir.
Yes, sir.
State, would you like to call any additional witnesses?
No, Judge.
All right. Is there any other testimony or evidence that needs to be presented from the state?
No, Judge.
Defense?
No, Your Honor.
All right, jury, well, let me talk to you. Here is where we're going as we wrap up for today. It is about 3:45 on Friday, May the 14th. I'm not going to see you again until Monday morning. Counsel has indicated that you have heard all of the evidence and testimony that we expect that you are going to receive in this case. Thus, the next things that are going to happen are as follows. On Monday morning, I anticipate that I will be reading you what we call our final instructions. That's where I will go over the law. In this case, I promised you earlier that I would be the person that would give you the law that applies in this case, and I will go over those instructions with you on Monday morning. Part of that process is the defendant and the state will have the opportunity to give you what we call closing arguments, so that will occur Monday morning as well. I expect at some point midday, maybe before lunch, maybe after lunch, on Monday that you will begin your deliberations in this case. So we are looking at starting deliberations on Monday, more than likely sometime midday. There's some important things that we've already talked about that I really want to stress to you at this juncture. You've got Saturday and Sunday and tonight where you are instructed not to do anything with this case. We have gone over at least a dozen, if not 24 times, the reason for that. All of the evidence and all the testimony that you are to consider and the law that I will instruct you on, you will be given, see, and hear in this courtroom. More than likely, there's at least one of you right now that is thinking, I wish I had a little more information on fill in the blank, whatever it is. Something that struck you in this case, man, I wish I would have had a little bit more on that issue, whatever that is. You are not allowed under any circumstances to do any research in this case. You're to not look up news articles, you're not to look up defendants, you're not to look up attorneys, you're not to look up anything having to do with this case. I will tell you that this case, like a lot of cases, has gotten media attention. There has been newspaper articles written about it this week. There's probably been television coverage about this case this week, and I would anticipate that there will be something mentioned about it, if not tonight, over the weekend at some point in a local newspaper. Please, for the integrity of what this is and what this represents, do not at any time during this weekend listen to anybody, talk with anybody, tweet, blog, text, research, nothing to do with this case, and you still cannot talk with each other about this case. That's going to happen on Monday, midday. You will begin to be able to talk with each other, and I'll tell you the rules for that when we start. Another thing that I would tell you at this point in time is I think it's safe. I told you I would not need you the third week. You may not be needed, depending on how long you deliberate, late next week. So if you've got something that's iffy, a doctor's appointment maybe next Friday, potentially next Thursday, you may not, you may be done by then. So I want to be fair with you so you can anticipate your plans. I know you all got employers and families and end of the year ceremonies and awards days and baseball games and all. I understand. I think I'm confident enough to tell you right now, I think by next Thursday and Friday, if you've got plans on those days, you'll be able to fulfill those duties. I believe that right now. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I would keep restricted right now. Don't plan anything because we may need you. But that being said, the important thing is this weekend, please just don't do anything with this case. Don't do anything to jeopardize the fairness of this trial and the time and effort that these attorneys and the court personnel and staff have put in, and you've put into this case. Don't do anything to jeopardize that this weekend because you've done a great job for us this week. That being said, I want you here fresh on Monday morning. I'm going to get you here a little bit later. There's probably going to be some housekeeping stuff I've got to get taken care of Monday morning. I'm going to ask that you be in the jury room by 8:45, so a little bit later, 8:45 on Monday. That way you're not in there for a long time while I'm taking care of housekeeping matters. 8:45 on Monday, fresh and ready to go. Anything else, Mr. Williams, before we let the jury go for the weekend?
No, Judge.
Mr. Davis, anything else from the court before we let the jury go for the weekend?
No, Your Honor.
All right, leave your notebooks in your chairs. I will secure those over the weekend. Take your name badges with you and wear them on Monday. Same parking situation Monday. We'll greet you here, make sure you're escorted up, and be fresh and ready to go.
All right.